trust. Is this all? Is this all we need? I'm giving up on sleep, 'cause all I get are bad dreams. Is this all? Is this all we need? I'm trying to believe that you're listening to me. But everything's not the way it seemed when we were 16. When we were 16. Is this all we need? I'm giving up on sleep, 'cause all I get are bad dreams. Is this all? Is this?
My son was 19 years old when he passed away on January 8th. My husband and I woke up at 3 in the morning and found him barely breathing on the sofa.
Aaron's story was typical. Young man, successful, high school athlete, talented high school football player.
Aaron overdosed on Oxycontin and prescription pills October 9th, 2005, and he was in a coma for 3 weeks. We were planning his funeral. Because of the overdose, he is now quadriplegic. He understands everything, and he communicates by using his hands and fingers, 1 finger for yes and 2 fingers for no.
Making wrong decisions will ruin your life. I almost died in 2009. My name is Asia Armour. I went to a private high school. I was on varsity cheerleading. But when I was 18, I overdosed on ecstasy. I was in a coma for 2 months, had complete organ and respiratory failure, and I couldn't walk, talk, and do simple things like put on chapstick. I was in a wheelchair for 5 months. I was in a cane for 3 and a walker for 2. I'm 2 years into my rehab, and I'm still going through rehab. I can't dance, I can't run, and my speech is slow. People always talk about how great drugs make you feel, but no one ever talks about how serious the consequences are of taking drugs. I thought I was invincible, that nothing would ever happen to me, but it did. My entire life has changed because of the choice I made to swallow a tablet of ecstasy. No matter what, it's not worth it. I was having fun with my friends one night, and that one night changed my entire life, and I'm young. It happened when I was 18, and I have to live with the choices I made for the rest of my life. I have problems speaking. I have a difficult time getting a job because of my speech. I lose balance, I run into walls. my arm can't bend all the way, it's really not worth it in the long run. So just don't do it no matter how cool someone says it is, because in reality it's not.
Before I started using, I was extremely involved in high school. I was on student government, I was a varsity song captain, I was in philanthropic league. I graduated high school with a very high GPA and scholarships, and with the honors and leadership. I was very, very involved. I found alcohol and ecstasy when I was around 17 years old, and it took about 3 months until I was doing heroin. My disease escalated quickly. I wanted to try everything and anything. They all had a different effect. They all allowed me to feel and do different things, and I was curious. I was very undereducated. I did not know what I was getting myself into.
I've been playing football my whole entire life, so I've kind of been a jock, if you want to call it that. I love sports. I love being active. I had good people surrounding me, which was awesome. People telling me, "You're going to go far. You're going to do things," which was something I needed, and I think we all need that. But it was around junior year that I started experimenting with marijuana. I started smoking pot when I was 16. Senior year came around, and football season got done, and my friend was like, "Hey, you want to go to a rave?" And I'm like, "A rave? What?" Like, no, that's too crazy for me. Well, two months later, I ended up going to this rave and taking ecstasy for the first time. Completely changed my perspective on life. I always knew I shouldn't be doing this stuff.
I didn't think girls like me went to prison. I'm from South Orange County. I was 21 years old. I was a good student. I went to college. I don't belong in prison. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know anyone who'd been to prison, especially not girls. And, it was a big eye-opener for me.
At first, just smoking weed, drinking, taking pills when I could get them, and ended up overdosing multiple times. Ended up in rehab when I was 14. And ultimately, I got hooked on heroin and was shooting heroin for 2 years.
I started using Oxycontin at 15 years old, and before I knew it, I couldn't stop. I like to say my addiction robbed me of my morals and my ethics, and I stole thousands and thousands of dollars from my parents. I wrecked cars. I wrecked relationships. I traumatized my family. Something today I'm not comfortable with, but back then I didn't care, and I just couldn't stop, and it got to the point where I wanted to die, but I couldn't do it myself. It was a miserable existence, I just couldn't stop. At 17 years old, I ran away from home, and I was living in a drug dealer's house, and I was about 2 weeks away from home. My mom had found out where I was from a friend, and she drives to the house, and I'm sitting in my car, and I'm cooking up a fix. At this point, I was shooting it IV Oxycontin, and I'm cooking up a fix, and my mom sees me, and she opens the car door. And she grabs me. She hasn't seen me in 2 weeks. She's terrified, she's scared, she missed me. And she goes to grab me, and the most important thing in my life at that point was my fix, my drugs. And so I hit reverse, and my mom got trapped underneath the car. And, I just drove off, and I had no idea if she was okay. But I didn't care, I just wanted to get high.
After high school, it just I just went downhill fast, and it was just a downhill spiral from there. It just went out of control really fast. And I was just like running amok, like just walking the streets for days, like not showering, not eating, not doing anything. And, I ended up getting hit in the head with a crowbar, and split my head open. I was running through like Santa Ana with like blood all over my face, and like that's where like the drugs took me. That's where that lifestyle took me.
The potency of drugs such as OxyContin or Opana is more powerful than heroin. These drugs were developed initially for the oncology or cancer patient. These were not intended to be drugs to be used by everyday individual for moderate pain.
What it became was dependency. What it became was, at 14, being on the street. What it became was losing absolutely everything that I had. I became a junkie at 14. I started my criminal career at 14. I've done an accumulation of 5 years in jail and in prison. My addiction led to numerous car accidents, numerous crimes, and I hurt a lot of people that I didn't think I was gonna hurt. In the midst of it, I had a child. I had my child taken from me because of my addiction. Everything that I thought was an amazing drug or an amazing life wasn't. The people that brought me around were not my friends. The coolness I thought I had because I was on them was not cool. I just wanted to fit in. I didn't feel like I was normal. I always felt like I was different, and I knew that the drug was going to make me feel different, and it did, but then it took everything from me. I know what it's like to sit in a cell for 24 hours a day for 2.5 straight years without seeing light. I know what it's like to be told when I can go take a bath, eat, when I can go to the bathroom. My freedom was taken from me because I chose to do what I thought was going to bring me freedom and what I thought was going to make me feel good. It led me to a cell.
I've lost 6 friends to overdoses in the past less than a year. And that was heartbreaking for me. And even after that, it still wasn't enough for me to stop.
Before I knew it, I'm getting phone calls from my friends, just heartbreaking phone calls, letting me know that one of my best friends died from an overdose. It's been this pill Opana that just creeps up on kids, and they die when they're in their sleep. You know, I've personally lost about 5 really close friends to this.
A lot of my friends started dying from the OxyContin and then from shooting the heroin. And I lost my best friend. He died in my hands from what we call a hot shot of heroin. It was heroin that was poisoned. And that really didn't stop me. It really didn't faze me, you know.
Out of 15 friends back home, probably 5 of them are dead, and the other 10 are still doing exactly what I was doing. Most people can't kick this thing.
You know, it's really life or death, you know. And it's like, it's serious. And I've lost like a lot of friends to this.
My son had a marijuana issue, big time. He loved his marijuana. He had anxiety, and the marijuana was no longer helping him. He had more anxiety because of the weed that he smoked. He'd have to wake up in the morning and go around the corner and smoke a joint before starting his day. The weed was no longer helping, so a friend says, here, take a quarter of this pill. That pill was called Opana. Jared didn't want that route. He swore over and over to me that marijuana would not lead to pills. And the marijuana was no longer helping him, so he did turn to Opana. Addiction devastates the entire family. It takes over the entire family.
Who knows what they could have done with their lives? These kids had the brightest futures ahead of them, and it's been taken away.
My son will never have the chance to celebrate his 21st birthday. He'll never have the chance to have a girlfriend. He never had a girlfriend. He'll never have the chance to get married, have kids, and just live life to its fullest like he should be. I'm here to save lives, and I hope that each and every one of you take this seriously and never try it. Never start, because once you start, you are hooked. Don't take pills. Pills kill. one pill can kill.
When I talk at the schools and stuff, a lot of times, you know, I'll say I had fun, and then it was fun with problems, and then it was just problems. I became a slave. It got to the point where I woke up in the morning, and all I thought about was who am I going to steal from? Who do I have to jack to get high? And that was my entire existence. So I wasn't living anymore.
That's the definition of an alcoholic or a drug addict, is continued use of a chemical despite the negative consequences. That definition works good. It's really brief. It doesn't confuse the issue about how much you're taking and what drug you're taking or how frequently you take it. All my patients continue to take their chemical despite the negative consequences. DUIs, losing their liver, losing their spouse, losing their job, horrible hangovers. It doesn't stop them.
It's evil, and it's one of the worst things that a family can experience.
It's a brain disorder, and what really helps people a lot with their recovery is to get to that and look at what's driving that use. A lot of people are not just using substances because of wanting to have this grand time, but for real disorders that are happening. So, you know, depression and anxiety and not being able to sleep is a big factor for many people, even before the use starts.
Most people who end up getting overtaken by addictions, they've had a broken heart somewhere along the way. And really, with all the work I do, I focus on heart issues. And when people tell their story and there's someone else that hears and validates their journey and can understand and help them connect some pieces, hope begins to be born. And they begin to feel that maybe they too can get well when another human being is alongside them for their journey.
When someone comes up and actually asks for help, then the simple question is, do you want what I have? In terms of sobriety, because, you know, don't drive the greatest of trucks and don't do the greatest things, but in terms of sobriety, do you want what I have? And it generally always the answer is yes. I want to be able to be clean. I want to be able to be sober.
It's essential that the addict or alcoholic opens their heart and their mind and start accepting the gift of sobriety, the gift of friendship, the gift of love, because the drug itself beats you down.
Once your child is in treatment, don't give up. Don't give up on your son or daughter. Continue to show the love and the support. You don't want to enable at all, but you also don't want to turn your backs on your own child. So continue to support them, give them all the love that you can, and walk them through this.
If I hadn't had my parents' support, and if they weren't, you know, encouraging, and I didn't apologize to them, and we didn't learn to love each other on more than like a superficial level, I don't think I would be as at peace as I am today.
It just takes time for the dust to settle, and their brains have to heal. So it's a process.
I guess the biggest message would be it takes willingness to want it. And some people never get that chance. I mean, they die before they get the chance to be willing to get this. And I can say out of 14 years of using and doing all that stuff, compared to the 4 years I have, the fun and the quality of life is so much better in comparison to the 14 years.
I was blinded to the fact that all I cared about was me and getting my drugs and getting it my way. And through recovery, that was one of the harder things for me to swallow early on, was that it's not all about me all the time. What do you mean? And I've learned to care about others. I've learned to care about myself so I can care about others.
There's a void in the heart that people and addicts have used to fill with substance because of that void, whether it be fear, whether it be loss of sense of being a teenager, struggles, divorce, whatever the hole in the heart is that teenagers and young adults search for in drugs and alcohol to make that hole full. Giving back fills that void in that heart.
giving back does help me to not want to use drugs again, because I speak my testimony and I share it to young people all over California, and the responses I get back from these kids are so inspiring, and they just make me feel good inside, and it makes me realize that giving back to others is what I'm meant to do. So.
Recovery is hope. There's hope in life. There's so much to be had, and there's so much to give, and there's so much hope for all of those out there. I was a bottom of the barrel, sitting in prison, junkie, and I'm here today, clean and sober and happy. And if there's hope for me, there's hope for you.
The things that I have today, and not materialistically, but like the people that I have, and the quality of the people, the quality of the relationships I have. It's just incredible. I have this clarity, so that if I wake up in the morning, I know exactly where I'm at, I know why I'm there, I have a plan for the day, and if I make mistakes throughout the day, which I do, I'll make a mistake, I'll lie, or I'll be rude, or I'll be selfish, or whatever the things are that I do. At the end of the day, I still have a chance, because I haven't closed that door yet. Every day that I'm not loaded, every day I'm sober, that door is still open for me. I can still go through to the next day. I can make things right that I made wrong. I can clean up my mess today.
There is hope. There is a life beyond what you're going through. And it's so worth it. I could not imagine my life without the use of drugs. Could not. And if I got to see this, for back then, I wouldn't have believed you. I thought it absolutely ridiculous. There's no way.
There is hope, because I'm here today, because I have been hopeless to the point to where I was ready to take my own life, where I couldn't imagine trying to dig myself out of this hole of dependence, addiction, just absolute chaos. And just believing in something bigger than myself, and believing in the people around me, that it is possible to get clean, no matter. I used opiates on a daily basis for 13 years. I never thought I could imagine life clean and sober, and I have.
I get to live today. The fact is that nobody's gonna have to bury me in a box and say, this girl wasted her life. Why couldn't she get it? Like, the hope for me is that by the time I leave this world, I will have put a mark on it. And that it only takes one person to change a whole bunch of people. And I guess for me, that's hope. Hope that I get to experience life without having to get loaded in order to experience it and then not even remember it.
If you're young in sobriety, you want to still have fun. Just because you're sober enough doesn't mean that life is over, that it's to the grind. The world opens up even more. The amount of fun that I had while I was out there, and I was a bit of a party animal, I'll admit that, but the amount of fun that I had while I was out there pales in comparison to what I'm experiencing today.
There is hope. There are people that are willing to help and willing to talk to you if you're going through something. I mean, if I can do it, if other people I know can do it, I've seen people pretty bad and worse off than me, and they live awesome lives. So, like, whatever you're going through, somebody else probably has gone through the same thing. So there is hope out there.
There is a life outside of using drugs and drinking, and they have so many opportunities, and they don't need to mess it up by doing drugs.
Imagine your life in 10 years. Where do you choose to be? Don't be overtaken.